A life without stress, wouldn't that be nice? Imagine a world with no deadlines, no nagging bosses, and no worries about hitting certain numbers. But if we lived in that world, feeling fulfilled when you complete a task or finding a way to creatively overcome systemic barriers will give us no satisfaction at all. This is because there is good stress and bad stress. And in the workplace in 2022, unfortunately, bad stress, short-term and long-term, is all too common. In fact, America's Psychology Association's annual Stress in America survey has consistently found that individual work is cited as a significant source of stress by a majority of Americans. Specifically for Gen Z adults, millennials, and baby boomers, work was listed in the top 3 stressors for all generations, accompanied with money, the economy, and health-related concerns. Across the 3 generations, work stress consisted more than 50% of all stress sources, showing how big of a problem managing stress related to work can be for so many people. It's real, it exists, but there are ways to overcome bad stress and make it good. My name is Jackie, and here at Uvaro, we want to help you build a fulfilling career in tech, from hired to retired. And today we're talking about overcoming workplace stress. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Let's get started. Before we dive into the nuances of workplace stress and how to overcome it, we need to understand what stress is and the different types of stress at play in the workplace. Now, this isn't the most scientific breakdown of stress, but overall the purposes of this video are to break down stress into 4 categories. The first 2 are the unseen positive sides of stress. Yes, we said positive. Acute eustress is short-term, generally not remembered or retained, and what we consider good stress. So an example of this is taking part in a physical challenge. This stress aids awareness and muscular strength in order to complete. An example of mental acute stress could be the pressure to build a good email. You encounter it, you write a compelling email, you feel good, and then you move on with your day. So what can we learn from this stress? We can learn that stress can be good. The small items of our job that challenge us also gives us rewards. And if we don't find ourselves as engagers in our work, this can cause us actually more stress, as we are not being tested or getting that positive rush or reward. Now we have chronic eustress, which is long-lasting and recurrent, but we also consider this as good stress. So an example of this is when an individual loves their work and finds it challenging. Cognitive stress is on the mind, but it further develops and grows in a more creative manner. Do you ever wonder how people in what seem to be very stressful jobs love their jobs? From professions like doctors, engineers, to farmers. If your work is fulfilling and engaging, you face chronic stress. This is where we actually want to be for most of our careers, and is a huge part of career success. Yes, challenges are challenging, but they are what give us fulfillment, and fulfillment in your career is like making a house a home. Now that we've looked at the 2 good types of stress, let's look at some of the negative forms of stress, and let's look at some tips to help you deal with this type of stress. Acute stress is short-term, treatable, and manageable, but it's also considered bad stress. So acute stress is the most common form of stress that happens day to day. Some examples of acute stress are your prospect rejects your email, or your boss is extra picky giving feedback, or your spacebar is sticking to your keyboard. These are all stressful items that are bound to happen in life. They suck. We're not going to say that they don't. Once upon a time, the letter P broke on my keyboard the day before a final deadline. Was this an insurmountable obstacle? No, but was it really annoying? Yes. But this is the type of stress you can learn to deal with if you've got the right tools in your belt. So our first tip is to track your stressors. Not every stressor is as easy to see or notice as a missing key in your keyboard. The first step in managing your worry is to recognize when you are worried and to start tracking it. You can either keep track or even keep a journal for a week or 2 to identify which situations cause you the most stress and how you respond to them. Not into journaling? Practice a few sessions of mindfulness to take a mental inventory to help as well. You're looking to understand your thoughts, your feelings, and information about the environment, including the people and circumstances involved, the physical setting, and how you reacted. So, did you raise your voice? Was this the first time an incident like this happened? Did the walk you took after help you cool down? You're not taking notes to find all the answers at a later date. Rather, you're using them for periodic reflection and perhaps revisiting for additional learning and healing with professionals. So let's break down healthy responses into two sections: the verbal/written response to the situation. Once you begin to track your stressors, here's where you can start your journey of developing healthy responses to those stressors. Instead of reacting in the moment to any stressors, have a few canned responses that you can lean on. There may be times where you get a Slack message from a coworker with feedback that rubs you the wrong way. A poor reaction and emotional message can ruin reputations and working relationships. No matter the stressor, have the right response. So you can start with a thank you, even if you're angry or mad. So start your correspondence by saying thanks at the beginning of the message. It's polite and takes up to 2 seconds to do it. And it comes across way better than okay, well actually, or even just K. You can also buy yourself some time by detailing that you will follow up at a later time. There is no rush, especially in remote environments, to force you to follow up at a moment's notice, especially if you're feeling an emotional reaction coming up. So you can say something like, I've seen your message and will try my best to get back to you by this date. Our next tip is to establish boundaries. In today's digital world, it's easy to feel pressure to be available 24 hours a day. Establish some work-life boundaries for yourself and start picking when you will deal with work stress and when you won't. That might mean making a rule not to check email after a certain time, not checking your email during the evening, or answering your phone during dinner. Although people have different preferences on how they blend their work life and personal life, creating some clear boundaries between these realms can reduce the potential for work-life conflict and any additional stressors. It's hard to limit stress when you're constantly surrounded by what is stressing you out. That's why establishing a healthy work-life balance is so vital for reducing stress. Many work communication apps or even email now have features that allow you to mute notifications starting at a certain point in the day when you're no longer available. So take advantage of features like this to disconnect and get a break. Nobody should be working 24/7. Chronic stress is consistent and unavoidable, and it's also what we consider bad stress. It's usually experienced by a person in a highly stressful job or a particularly difficult relationship. It is chronic stress that causes most of work burnout. This is the oh, it's really starting to drain me kind of stress. Anything lasting more than a couple of days can be classified as chronic stress. Examples: where do we start? That email that needs to get sent every week at 3 p.m. but is always a last-minute nightmare for the team? Yeah, that causes chronic stress. Those targets that are always just a little too much out of reach and makes the team feel like they're falling behind? Yeah, those are causes of chronic stress too. The list really just goes on. This is the type of stress where simply going for a walk won't fix it. It might help, but it's not gonna help you in the long run. So what can you do to help when you come across chronic stressors in the workplace? Our first tip is to press pause and take time to recharge. To avoid the negative effects of chronic stress and burnout, we need time to replenish and return to our pre-stress level of functioning. This recovery process requires switching off from work and having periods of time where you're neither engaging in work-related activities nor thinking about work. That's why it's critical that you disconnect from time to time in a way that fits your needs and preferences. Personally, I like to take time to recharge by getting out in nature, exercising, or spending time with my friends and family. So whether this means taking some vacation days to take some time off, or getting a bite to eat with your friends, or taking your dog for a walk. How you unwind and disconnect from work depends on what you like and what you enjoy doing to get your mind off of stressors. There's been times where I've taken a week off of work to spend time doing the things I love, and I'm able to come back to work refreshed with a clear head, and most importantly, I have a different outlook and a fresh perspective on my work. Our next tip is to talk to your supervisor, who can really help you with a lot of different things. For one, they can help you work through a challenge with a plan. So talk to your supervisor. Employee health has been linked to productivity at work, so your boss has an incentive to create a workplace environment that promotes employee well-being. Start by having an open conversation with your supervisor. The purpose of this isn't to lay out a list of complaints, but rather to come up with an effective plan for managing the stressors that you've identified so you can perform at your best on the job. Your supervisor can also help you by bringing in additional resources or support to help with your stressors. While some parts of your plan may be designed to help you improve your skills in areas such as time management, for example, other elements might include identifying employer-sponsored resources or benefits that are offered to you. Other elements might include clarifying what's expected of you, getting necessary support or help from your colleagues, enriching your job to include more challenging or meaningful tasks, or making changes to your physical workspace to make it more comfortable and reduce stress. And sometimes your supervisor cannot offer you any help or support. In these situations, it's a telling sign in its own right of what kind of work culture you're working for. And you may want to remove yourself from these situations and try to find a new workplace to align your values with. If your current workplace doesn't value your well-being, we encourage you to find one that does. There's plenty out there, and it's essential for having a great career. And finally, we encourage you to get professional help and support if needed. There's no shame in accepting help from friends and family, and it can really improve your ability to manage your stress. Or you can look into professional counselors or therapy. If you continue to feel overwhelmed by work stress, you may want to talk to a psychologist who can better help you and can help you manage unhealthy responses and behavior to stress. And lastly, look into what your work benefits cover. It's different for every company, but your employer may also have stress management resources available to you through an employee assistance program, through professional help services, including online information, counseling, or even referral to mental health professionals if needed. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to like this video if you've enjoyed it. Or check out Uvaro for more information surrounding how you can achieve the ultimate career success. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos on early career success, advice, and Uvaro member stories. We help people change careers and enable them to land their dream jobs in tech. And remember, Uvaro is your career success company.